So that's Pandora in the background. Okay, game should be recording now. So I'm going to go ahead, and I wanted to do this for a small while. There's a lot of scripters for AOK out there, and a lot of you may be unfamiliar with Star Wars Galactic Battlegrounds, and I just kind of want to highlight the differences between them, and it kind of changes things a bit when you actually see it on screen versus just reading the text. And generally people don't put the effort. I know myself, I'm quite lazy. Generally people don't put the effort into actually downloading a game that they don't have any interest in. But they may look up something on YouTube, they may see some videos, and so for those of you who have played AOK or AOC and have seen any of the Star Wars videos on YouTube, Star Wars Galactic Battlegrounds, but haven't had anything explained to you, that's kind of what I wanted to do in this video. So just point a few things out here. This is your town center. It's your command center. In Star Wars, trains your workers or your villagers, and you also have medics. Some civilizations have medics that cost carbon, some cost food, and that's one of the differences here. Resources in Star Wars, you have carbon, food, nova, and ore, and they have the exact same purpose as wood, food, gold, and stone. They have the exact same purposes, pretty much the same rarity. And I'll show you some differences between the games. So I trained a medic here, but you don't generally see them a lot. And I want to say AI battles, you won't see them used often. The AI generally throws them in the front of a attack group line and will shove them straight into an opponent's base, and they'll hug a town center or a command center or a tower, or a turret or a fortress, and they'll die pretty darn quickly. They're kind of a waste of resources. So the only time that's really useful to train them is like late game, or you have multiple command centers and you can afford those resources, which 35 carbon, not too much. Anyways, got your workers here. The mill is now replaced with a food processing center. Exact same purpose. You use it to simply to return food to. Instead of berry bushes, they're muja fruit bushes. Like I said, exactly the same thing. Trees are deposits of carbon instead of wood. So one of the bigger differences here in Tech Level 1 between the games, the ages go in tech levels. So instead of Dark Age, Feudal Age, Castle Age, Imperial Age, you have Tech Level 1, Tech Level 2, Tech Level 3, and Tech Level 4. And so what we have here on screen is these are nerfs. They're quite like sheep. And there's another unit that's just like it. They're much larger animals though. They don't make a difference in food amount, if I remember correctly, but they're the exact same thing. They're controllable animals. And but there's a new building in Star Wars that's quite different from how you use these animals than you would in AOK, and that is the animal nursery. So with the animal nursery, you can store the nerfs inside of it. When you do that, they auto-generate food, just like a relic would auto-generate gold. You would auto-generate food, and I'll show you here. So I've got 4 nerfs in there. See, it's got a food counter, 31 food per minute. Generally, at base level, farmers gather about 20 food per minute. So pretty much for every 3 nerfs or bonthas you have a farmer. So it definitely helps early game if you collect enough. It helps in late game where there's a chance you might have multiple buildings worth of them. You have 15, 20 of them. There is research leading later on tech level 2, tech level 3, and tech level 4 that increases this food amount. And so that definitely helps. I just led some here. So here's your first military unit. It's a scout. It's just like scout cavalry. You get it in the beginning of the game. It's used for scouting. It's actually considered a mech unit. It's ranged, has 2 range, wimpy little 3 attack. It pretty much falls to everything in the game. It has a very slow attack rate. It would probably fall to this animal if the animal attacked back. But they're pretty weak. They're one of the faster land units, and they're quite well for scouting. So another new building in Star Wars you're going to find is the Power Core. It provides power to buildings. So when you have a production building or a building that researches, it's generally going to produce or research like 4 times slower than it would with Power Core. I would say the speeds you get in Age of Empires for unit production or for research, that'd be the speeds you would normally get with the Power Core in Star Wars. So without that, you're not going to have highest production. You're definitely not. That's it's quite a fact. So as you can see, it's got a decent little radius on it. It can power probably 1, 2, 3, 4, 6. I don't know. It can power quite a bit if you do it right. So as human players, it's easy to put units or buildings inside that power radius. But for AI, it'll generally stuff maybe 4 buildings in there and then say it's finished. Maybe 5, maybe 6. It's very rare to get past 4. And so in Tech Level 1, you'll notice I'm still in Tech Level 1, which is the Dark Age. On Age of Empires, you have 2 military units. One of them is going to be the Mounted Trooper. The other one's going to be a Trooper Recruit. And these are your houses, the prefab shelters. Apparently I don't have enough right now. Basic training, it's the same thing you get in AOK. These are your huntable animals right here. Anyways, should be producing a Mounted Trooper, and I'm also going to train a Trooper Recruit. Now the differences between the two, Trooper Recruit is your basic military unit, your most basic military unit. It's your primary form, well, it's the most basic DPS unit, I should say. It's kind of like your militiaman of Age of Empires. It's cheap, and it's one of the first units to get. But anyways, it's a ranged attacker. It's you can kind of think of it like an archer. It costs 25 food and 35 carbon, so you're not paying any Nova for it, and it's fairly weak. It's got low HP. It's got 30 HP. Starts out with. It starts out in Tech Level 1 with no research, no upgrades. It's fairly slow moving, and it actually has a 50% accuracy to hit only. It has no armor, as you can see, no armor, no Dur armor. With the Mounted Trooper, now these cost 55 food, 20 Nova. These are your melee units, your most basic melee unit of Star Wars. There's kind of a select few of them. So it starts out with 4 melee armor, 3 Dur armor, 125 HP. And it has bonus damage versus buildings, mechs, siege weapons, things that generally are stationary, stand still, or have very low melee armor. As you'll see, later on. I want to show you Jedi have a high Dura armor but low melee armor, so they're generally weaker. And in fact, there's actually a bonus damage that is obviously not displayed that mounted troopers get against Jedi. And that's something I want to remark on, is that there's a big difference between Age of Empires and Star Wars Galactic Battlegrounds. That is, you have a major difference in encounters. Units are very... what's the word I'm looking for here? Yeah, my mind's drawing a blank here. I'm not... Anyways, they're hard counter. So, trying a siege weapon, mounted troopers are your cheapest option. They counter them. They destroy them without getting hurt in return on a 1 versus 1 basis. Oh, they're quite fast. So if we compare the unit speeds, as you can see, the trooper recruit, they're much slower. So these are great for rushing. But for early game, 55 food, it's kind of expensive, especially since that a lot of Star Wars revolves around carbon gathering versus food gathering. And I think we'll go ahead and research tech level 2 here. You got your carbon processing center. It's just like your lumber mill. Oh, your resources here. This is your gold, or your nova. Ore is going to be the same thing as stone. They're kind of brightly lit, so you can tell the difference between the two. I'm going to go ahead and research tech level 2 here. Costs 500 food, just like in Age of Empires. One thing I did want to point out, and I started making a video similar to this, and I pointed it out in that one. So I believe houses in Age of Empires cost 30 wood. Well, in Star Wars they cost 25 carbon. I believe farms cost 60 wood. In Star Wars they cost 50 carbon. So they're just slightly cheaper, but you need power cores to power buildings to produce units at a good rate, to have a good production. And these things cost a whopping 200 carbon. It's like a standard building. Standard production building. And I'll show you the difference here. So, just hit tech level 2. So, train a unit. You can see the speed on it here. They train about 16 seconds. Go ahead and destroy the power core, and look at the time here. And it takes much longer, as you can see. Go ahead and add a power core back to it. We can throw some research on there, some upgrades. There we go. There's my guy. And I'll show you the other tech level 2 buildings that are available. So you get the market, you get the blacksmith or the war center. Market is the spaceport. Where did my other worker go? What do I do with him? And the other tech level 2 building, other two tech level 2 buildings, you got the mech factory and the Jedi temple. So the Jedi temple is just like a monastery. It produces, in tech level 2, it produces Jedi or like Sith apprentices, Padawans. It's the beginning Jedi unit. And the only thing they can do in tech level 2, I'm sorry, the difference between that and tech level 3 is they can't convert in tech level 2 yet. They can only pick up holocrons, which are relics on Star Wars. Let's see, one not behind trees. Here's one. They can pick up holocrons, and they can also attack units. Let's see, they have Jedi Padawan. Go ahead and train that. And your mech factory is where you're gonna find your mechs. It's almost it's like your stable. In fact, I can if I can make a direct correlation, I'd say strike mechs in Star Wars are the same thing as knights in AOK. They're pretty useful ground unit. Very valuable. So this is your Jedi Padawan. So you can see here he's got 6 attack strength. It's a melee attack. I'll just go ahead and attack an animal just to show you the animation here. And so a lot of Star Wars units, I was going off on this before, they have a lot of hidden bonus damages. So you'll see 6 damage on here, but he actually has a 10 damage bonus versus mounted troopers and regular troopers. So it looks can somewhat be deceiving, but they're pretty hefty units. They don't die as quickly as monks do. I believe monks started out with like 45 HP or 50 HP in Age of Empires. Padawans or Jedi start out with 185. Start out with 0.5 armor and 6 attack damage, so they're quite resilient versus the standard trooper. Mounted trooper will take them down though. Say like in a 2v1 situation where 2 mounted troopers versus 1 Jedi, or I believe maybe it's 3 mounted troopers. But anyway, Jedi cost they're quite expensive though. So you get the normal monk would cost 100 Nova. A Jedi costs 200 Nova. I'm sorry, 100 gold. Jedi costs 200 Nova and 100 food. But this is a civilization that gets a cheaper Jedi, so it generally starts out with 100 food, 225 Nova. So, and there's only 2 civilizations that get bonuses to relics, and this is one of them. So, 1 relic here is going to produce 60 Nova per minute, but for the normal civilizations, it produces 45. And I'm going to get another video together for Tech Level 3 and then another one for Tech Level 4, because they make a huge difference as far as what's available. So you got your War Center, same thing as your Blacksmith. You only have 4 researches though versus your, I believe it was 5. You know, you had your infantry attack, which added attack damage to cavalry and infantry, and you had your infantry armor, your cavalry armor, and your bodkin arrow increases your archer damage and range. It also increases the range, damage, and line of sight on towers and town centers. Then you also had your archer armor. Well, in Star Wars you have your infantry, you have your mechs. So you have your attack. It adds attack damage for infantry and mechs. You have your mech armor, which just gives armor, mech armor, just like it says. The other one is the sort of bodkin arrow. It adds range, line of sight, and attack damage to mechs, as well as turrets, turrets, command centers, and fortresses. Fortresses are exactly like castles. They cost 550 ore. They're quite large. They're very sturdy. You know, they're very resilient to falling down quickly, and they deal a little bit of damage, definitely. And then you have your troop armor here. This is your spaceport. It's just like a market. Trade and buy. You can sell and buy resources, trade resources here, and it allows you to give resources to your allies. I'm going to trade a cargo hovercraft here, just to give an example. So you get the. I just had their name in my head. You get the. Wow, we're at the brain fart here. Trade carts? Yeah, trade carts. Get the trade carts of Age of Empires. You get cargo hovercraft in Star Wars, and the main difference is they actually hover. You can go across water with them. So it makes them a little bit more viable on like river type maps. You'll hardly ever see the AI not trading. There is something buggy that I've seen with the AI that every now and then one of them will have half of its cargo hovercraft population just sitting around idling and just kind of like moving back and forth like so, and they just sit around doing nothing. So you can see here the holocron's producing 60 nova per minute. That's akin to having 3 nova gatherers. So it's very, very game changing in the late game. Past like an hour and a half, especially for AI. And I think I got all the buildings here. Yep. So I'm gonna go ahead and make the tech level 3 video here in a minute. I'm gonna go ahead and pause that.